That was unreal. Mate, they've done it again.
Hello and welcome. The stage was set. Melbourne and the Blues, the two in-form sides of the competition, participated in what ended up being an arduous battle. And Carlton, like good teams do, just found a way in a finals-like contest that was physically taxing throughout. Terry from Blue Abroad put it well when he said,
"That's finals footy. That's premiership footy. You know, premierships are won off the back of defence. I think offence wins your games, defence wins your premierships." And it had that feel to it. Neither side was cracking. Neither side was breaking. And really impressive to see that we can match that defensive scheme with Melbourne, who are a great defensive side.
Today, we delve into the moments that mattered in the time of the game that mattered. Let's go. This game was a slogfest. Carlton began the far superior side with 20 extra inside 50s in the first quarter, yet only led by 3 points at quarter time, the largest lead at a break, full time aside. Every Carlton surge would be responded to by the Dees, signifying a toughness to separate the two teams and that this was an old-fashioned dogfight against a team already difficult to crack defensively. Though people who thought the first 3 quarters were a slog, well, no one was prepared for the insanity that was the fourth quarter. The slogfest intensified drastically as the game was to be decided by fine margins, and minute details proved critical. Those little wins meant the all-impossible task of protecting a 1-goal lead for 15 minutes, holding Melbourne scoreless, came to fruition. Obviously, excluding the biggest and most suspenseful moment in Carlton's season. But let's rewind to the start of the quarter to see how we got there. As we emphasised in a video last week, Carlton's success is felt when contested footy prevails. To 3-quarter time, Carlton had not scored a goal from stoppages, and as we saw last week, scoring from such a source could break the game wide open. Carlton's only 3 goals of the final term came from this exact scoring source, 2 of those from centre bounces. And getting a 3-goal buffer proved vital in a game when scoring came at a premium. Those 3 goals, believe it or not, sprouted from the disposals of 3 players: Paddy Cripps, Paddy Dow, and Lockie Fogarty. Having players like Dow and Fogg have such a large bearing on the result is symbolic of the next man up philosophy enabling the resurgence, and it's only fitting the leader of the football club, who has gone under the radar as his responsibility has lessened, led from the front in a game of such high importance. Cripps is 6th in the league for centre bounce first possessions, and thus 11th for centre bounce clearances. And later in the game, when the game is in the balance, you can see that they're trying to rediscover the method of the way these goals kickstart from. For the first goal in the last quarter, you can see a subtle Doherty block which feeds Cripps' first possession, as Petrarca, the opponent of Cripps, opted to hold back and sit defensive side. Cripps handballs to the advantage of Dow, and working together is Cottrell tracking the ball, remaining on his feet, ensuring there is no simple getaway for the Dees, and also Hollands attacking the footy to keep the play alive, eventually dishing the ball out to Owies, who in a game lacking anything visually appealing, kicked a classy goal. For the second goal, you'll see Pitto simply positioned in the right place to feed Cripps, who had Petrarca second best in that little battle. Pitto completes the start of the chain, applying a block on Petrarca to eliminate Cripps' matchup entirely. And then it's just a matter of the D's rolling over and the Blues manipulating that well, as they get it to the last player in the chain, Fogarty, who is now on gone because of the defensive mechanism the D's applied. The 6-6-6 setup for the Blues, Carlton's key forwards are quite deep whilst the flankers are much higher up, with the aim of either running forward to the contest or running back to crumb a dropped mark with pace. Yet the kick means it's just a matter of playing front spot, as the kick is directed into space between those two lines, encouraging a lead up from the forward, in this case Tom De Koning. And for the third goal, Doherty does well to allow this, from having turned a shepherd by Hunter into taking him off the ball with a subtle grab. Cripps doesn't get the possession, but he does get first hands. And whilst the Dees get the first clear possession, it's Fogarty who is more assertive than Salem. Salem would want the cheap handball out the back to gain ground, whilst Fogarty actually uses that extra number as leverage to get in the passing lane to prevent that outlet. He actually does this prior to the play where Salem on a couple of occasions is held accountable by Fogarty, eliminating the most valuable trait of his game. Then it's a simple draw of the man, and the captain who prevented that easy Viney possession to commence the 50-50 contest delivers to the leading Charlie Curnow, whilst Melbourne prey on each other's downfall. The kick doesn't happen though if it hadn't been for the Doherty contest and then Cripps preventing the gaining of territory, instead forcing the other means for an exit out of the stoppage, which was the ever predictable play of passing to a halfback flanker on the back of the stoppage. Speaking of Cripps, I love this effort. It's a 3-on-1. Gus Brayshaw is probably a little flick handball away from feeding Gawn, who can then handball on the 90 to complement the runner. But it's the pursuit of Cripps that has Brayshaw eventually happen to be content with getting it to the line. And that's probably what had Cripps one of the best players in the last quarter. Every contest Cripps was in, you felt no matter how disadvantaged he looked, he somehow extracted the best out of that, or at worst, didn't allow a clear winner. We talk about impact from the other side, the opposition, and one player who you don't want off the leash is Kozzy Pickett, who since round 18 led the club for goals, score assists, and scoreboard impact points, whatever that means. I'll use the term microwave scorer to describe him because in basketball it essentially means despite playing like trash or being out of the game, you can just heat up and your impact can be felt no matter what performance preceded it. And you will see with the goal he kicked that concept coming to life. That said, in a game of fine margins, the efforts made to prevent further scoreboard impact were vital. Like this example where Kozzy being in front means he has a direct closer path to the footy, and Sard, who isn't as reactive, meets a Van Rooyen shepherd. You also have Petrarca running with the direction of the ball, as opposed to others who have run past it, a player who has the most ground balls won in the forward 50 this year. Marchbank simply being a body in there disrupts the play and potentially another over-the-back goal, as the Dees had numbers streaming in, overloading the last line of our defence. And so in doing so, making things more physical and eliminating their run was crucial, not only in this possession to give us the clearance, but also generally speaking, to eliminate the means in which they had put us to the sword. Here's another example where Fisher nor Sard are in an optimal defensive position, enabling an inward run. Fogarty is here. It's an excellent clean rove by Pickett, and he has Kemp beaten, given Kozzy's movement hasn't diverted whilst Kemp has. It would have seemed he was clearly ready to send it into the 50 from a good position, or use his pace to try break the game open, until Fogarty cancels that out and we get that contested footy again, where Fogarty clears it. Or you talk about this example where Kozzy doesn't even lay a glove on it, as Chincotta wins a crucial one-on-one in isolation. You've also got the confidence on full display. I talked a couple weeks ago about the team fully knowing of their teammates having their back. Kemp is like, I have faith in Newman to hold his own against my man. Let me take a hanger to help out Weeders. Believe it or not, that play allowed a long kick to the stage that was set for our third goal. And he was superb on the weekend too. If I had more time and I could post 15 videos about one game, best believe Kempy is getting some screen time. You will see later in the game with a slender advantage, Kempy possessing no different of an attitude. I enjoyed watching Georgie Hewett's game as well. These conditions were built for him. On this play, we see Hewett doing well to snatch it out of the opponent's hands and smartly uses Fisher as a decoy to get it to Newman. We saw last week an instance where Newman made amends for poor execution or decision making, and on this occasion he turns Melbourne's possession into a boundary throw-in where players like Hewett can go to work. In a close game, whilst moments where you step up count for more, moments where you make mistakes count for more as well. And this tackle by Cunners on Rivers could have been decisive. The Dees, out of absolutely nothing, get a mark from a player not known for goal kicking, only to show the goal kickers how it's done. And it could have been a lot worse. We saw what happens when you let a player like Pickett get goal side. Here, Cottrell starts well positionally, but for some reason he loses that physicality. It may be because he feels more comfortable that Neil Bullen is boundary side, and so for a handball to get to him, it has to get past Cottrell first. Though that concept is absolutely out the window when he just lets him go, and a diving attempt by Akers on the line could have added a little bit more controversy. That's pretty lackluster from Cottrell in a game where you don't have much leeway. 15 long minutes and only one behind conceded in those minutes. Let's have a look at that desperation which allowed us to get this result. Here's one where Sard tracks back and is composed enough with the last ditch effort of Newman to give it to Akers, and then you have Fisher with a lunge to prevent a deep entry, which means Akers can close Langdon off, and then Dowie, who not known for his physicality, seemed to be a bit exposed, and his attack on the footy at times was questioned in this one. Though here it is superb, and with a lead so fragile, taking the weight off the defence is so valuable. Jack Martin had a superb final 10 minutes simply off the back of desperation. In this play you can see him commit even though he's second to it. Then he excellently protects the footy and collects it to help exit the chamber that the footy is trapped in. Then he is in pursuit of the ball carrier here, where he looks on the verge of collapsing, and then puts the head down and gut runs to sway Langdon off target. It doesn't equal a goal, nor did we gain too much ground, but the ball in our hands means it's in their hands for less. The fragility of our lead needed efforts like this to remain intact. You'll see it again moments later, where he vitally forces a spoil from behind and then runs down Langdon to prevent a kick or a clear outlet forward, forcing another lockup and thus more vital seconds to elapse with minimal territory gained. You'll see by the time he has the set shot here, he is spent. As seen the seconds before, when his legs collapse from underneath and he's on his haunches. I think getting shoulder charged in the back was the last thing he wanted. This is just about one of my favourites for all the minute details and the 1%ers. The ball doesn't go through Hewett's hands, the tackle on Fogarty, the tackle on Hewett, the protection of the footy by Fogg, the smother by Brayshaw, the disruption caused by May to promote a chest mark rather than a leap from Charlie, and thus the spoil from Hibberd. All acts of desperation and little moments in which the absence of one of these would have had implications for the rest of the play and possibly the game. Or this one where if Fogarty gets more of a piece or Viney doesn't knock it to himself, you may have a goal scored for the Blues. The three Blues in pursuit also allows a throw in where the Dees need to take it the length of the field, yet will have to do so winning it from the congested nature that is a stoppage. You've got this play where Hewett grabs Oliver with his fingernails to force a questionable handball, then the pressure by McVie to have the same effect on the Cripps handball, which, if on target, also could have changed the complexity of the game instead of helping maintain this vulnerability for the Blues. You've got TDK dropping a simple mark which could have put the game to bed, and I think the collective work rate of the Blues here is incredibly underrated. Even with the noticeable switch to the open side, Carlton's work rate for this stage of the game is pretty exceptional in cutting off what could be perceived as a very good opportunity for the Dees to get it up their end. Even so, they get it to here. Now, given the previous counterattacks of the game carried out by the Dees, you'd think we're screwed. Langdon is probably the one most feared, with no one blocking the run of this elite runner. But the stroke of luck begins here because their number over the back, Grundy, doesn't receive the ball off a kick. It's a handball. And so this saves us. Sardi's pressure means that handball is loopy and falls short, which means Cincotta can run off, given they'll have to use another number to get it to Kozzy. That means the pressure created by the numbers converging forces another loopy handball, which creates an excellent wrap-up. And Cincotta, who made the brave decision to leave Pickett at the beginning of the sequence, impacts Van Rooyen's kick as he loses balance falling forward. I'm not here to be the judge of whether or not it was a free, because cases can be made for both sides. We'd be here all evening. I'm just here to highlight how on earth we got there. Then the final 2 minutes. You'll see a lot of back and forth, just defending for our lives with not much plan after we get the ball, just really trying to source whatever energy is left. You'll see Hewett, Akers, and our halfbacks in many instances buying valuable seconds with the territory they help us gain, for better or for worse. I'm referring to this example. Blake's kick could have just as easily resulted in a high percentage chance and thus goal for Melbourne as TDK taking a mark. But he made that up with the tackle he produced the immediate play after. Then you have the spoils of Kemp at crucial stages, and the names aforementioned sent it back out before one final attempt. TDK, who had been playing as a super high half forward, at least for the last 10 or so minutes, comes in from the side to soar over, I counted, 12 players in one contest with an iron fist. And it's only fitting George Hewett, for the vital role he played in resisting Melbourne's final surge, feeds Newman one last time before pandemonium ensued. This was a good observation by Pommy in his post-game, talking about the importance and effectiveness of Huey winning the ball at ground level and the luxury of having the kickers complementing this well, as we saw so integral to holding the Dees off in the last.
When we talk about Cripps and Hewett, why they're so important, they're not looking anymore to boom the ball away. They're looking to give it to their teammates. They're looking to take that contact. They take 2 men off you, so you're free. Bang, handball. Bang, handball. Key cornerstone of Voss's game. Sensational.
In the last 10 minutes, Carlton held the ball for 25% of the time, with a 5-point lead. How they won having not scored themselves is beyond me, but I know one thing: the desperation and fight was unmatched. Playing for the jumper personified. Never seen anything like it. So there you have it. 175 tackles and many years of aging later, Carlton are in the box seat for September action. I thought the Collingwood win was impressive, then I thought the Saints win was even more impressive, but this has to be the most impressive. And the winning feeling has never felt any better. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks wholeheartedly for the recent support, and we will be back for the round 22 analysis, where hopefully Carlton would have locked in their final spot. Thanks again. Bye for now.